episode 10 of The Can. I'm really excited for you to be here. We have a really special guest today. But before we begin that, I'm going to ask you, Arsh, name top three rappers that play basketball.
I play basketball.
Yes, sir.
I feel like we did this one episode, but I can definitely reiterate. So J. Cole.
No. My bad. The opposite way around. Basketball, rappers.
Basketball rappers. Well, I gotta give number one to 27 Days, 27 Nights, Miles Bridges, prison representation right there.
Make 100 Ks, 40 got a night.
Number two, Dame. Dame was number one for me, but just because of like the trending songs that Miles Bridges has performed or like released, I have to push into the number one spot. And number three, I think I will go with Lonzo Ball. What about you, my guy?
Okay, yeah. So I disagree with that. I think Dame is still number one. And I think the reason why is so his music reminds me of a little bit of old school, not old school rap, but a little bit of an earlier generation of storytelling, sort of like J. Cole, Kanye, and that group. But he has a really special attention to sort of the production side of things that I find really interesting, right? And his music sounds melodic while it also speaks about parts about him. Like we think about the song Wasatch Front. I don't know how that's pronounced correctly. Wasatch Valley is something in Utah, I think. But that song's about him sort of moving from
the trenches.
Yeah, in East Oakland, in Brookfield. That's a neighborhood that he was raised in, and sort of going to a completely different environment in Ogden, Utah. And that's kind of fucking wild, right?
Yeah.
And in that environment, he thrived fully by himself. He had to grow up. He was forced to grow up, and he talks about how this is the first time he forced himself to go to class, getting the syllabus, like not knowing what to do. All he wanted to do was ball, and sort of
he never runs away from the grind.
Never runs away from the grind, dude. He would have signed a 2-year, $122 million with Weber State too.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, and it talks about a story from there, going from the bench to a starter to winning his conference MVP, breaking his leg, but then coming back from that and then getting drafted 6th overall by the Blazers. So it's a really special story, but that element of like personality is sort of present in all of his songs.
Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever heard Victor Oladipo rap?
Ain't no way.
Yeah, apparently someone said that Victor Oladipo makes music for men that sit down when they take a piss. So don't listen.
That's fucking heinous. What? Nah, that's not true.
He makes like those like very like melodies, like very slow melodies. He has a bunch of like dying sitting around him, and he's just like singing like very
Okay,
soft.
I gotta ask you actually, what do you think about Billie Eilish?
She's a bad guy.
All right, but honestly, in terms of her music, what do you think about it?
I don't like it.
I don't either. So the reason I don't like it, I feel like if you take the end of a song, the last 10 seconds, and you extended it over a 3-minute period of time with no beginning, that's Billie Eilish, right? Her music is ass. She is an industry plant, and her brother writes all her music. She fucking sucks.
Is that her ghostwriter, really?
Yeah, I that's what I believe. That's what I was told by somebody.
I feel like Billie Eilish is like the combination of like goth and like pop, just like fucking each other, and then Billie Eilish just comes out of that.
Dude, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But I do agree too, like a certain point, like her music is so cliche, and it like targets these touchy-feely type moods that like people think they have, but they're really all fake.
I don't have those moods.
No, like we all do, but I'm like that fucking music is not conducive to that kind of person, but people feel that way and they feel special, and that's not that. But that having been said, I am like unrelated in a different sense, right? What do you think about people that listen to J. Cole?
I mean, like J. Cole had one of the best quotes I've ever heard. Her name is Hope, but the P is silent on the weekends. Like, holy fuck, that's just mastery.
I mean, oh yeah. So without further ado, we're gonna get to our guest really soon. We have Kevin Larney, really special guy. He's actually the founder of Wildchat Sports. Please take a look at that.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk to him about what he does, his interest in basketball, and we're just really excited to see what happens. All right, let's get to it.
Appreciate
All right,
you guys having me on.
Thank you.
Honored.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
it.
Super.
coming.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you on
Yeah.
here. And you know, I think since we started this whole podcast, and we sort of look up to you in like a really big way. So
Yeah. You're the Michael Jordan of all podcasts right now.
yeah, at least for us, you know, I feel like no one from, at least for people in Andover and in this area, like, you know, every time we do something, we're like, oh, like Kevin Larney did it this way, and
Yeah.
he did it this way, and you know, you had such a big impact with Wildchat Sports, and I know, especially the editing side of things, right? Like I try to listen to your videos, and I try to make sure that, you know, if you did something a certain way, I try to make sure that I can like correct my stuff to make it sound like you know, professional.
Yeah. Yeah. I think kind of your model for the podcast is amazing, and kind of just the way you started out from like Wild Chat, kind of like grew your brand, and now you're in LA, like it's crazy. So Kevin, before we start, I kind of just want to like to introduce yourself. So if you could say your name, kind of like where you went to college, like what was your major, what really got you into like what you do, and what's like your post grad like kind of situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, I mean, I think you guys are being nice. Really appreciate it. I mean, I'm honored to be on here, and you know, it's awesome, and I'm really excited to connect, and yeah, I really appreciate the kind words. You know, it's all fun. But yeah, I went to my name's Kevin, by the way. My name's Kevin Larney. I grew up in Andover, Mass. And then I went to school at the University of New Hampshire, which is actually like where the inspiration for like the name came from, like for the brand. I was a part of like a radio station there, and the sports show was called Wildchats. So that was cool. So that's where the inspiration came from. People ask me, where did it come from? I wanted to create something that kind of you know, had a narrative to it, you know, from the radio show. So it was fun. It was a great community. But yeah, I went to school there, moved out to LA. I didn't really plan to move out to LA. You know, I always wanted to work in sports. So I had a really difficult time landing a job in the sports industry or an internship. Just like I used to keep like a document of like all the internships. I was like, oh man, like I wasn't getting this, I wasn't getting that. So it kind of got to a point where I wanted to like sort of create my own thing, create my own internship in a sense. And yeah, from then I got an opportunity since then to work for a collegiate baseball team, worked for like a sports agency based out of New York. It was like Gary Vee's sports agency, so they helped me out a ton. And then yeah, I applied for a full-time position with the basketball team in LA, and got to move out there, work for the Clippers. So it's been great, and I'm just super grateful, and they've just treated me really well. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. So what are you currently doing with the Clippers? What does your job entail?
Yeah, I mean, I just work as a sales rep for them there. You know, I can't really like talk too much about it. You know, they ask me like not to go too much in depth. What I will say is, since I moved out to LA, just like a class act organization, and I've always wanted to work in sports. So for them to give me an opportunity to work for them and just learn is really cool. So
Okay, so Draymond Green very recently said during the ESPYs, right, that there are 7 professional teams in LA and the Clippers. What do you think about that?
no comment. I don't know. I mean, I'm a Clippers fan, so I'm I don't know. I'm excited. It's a great organization, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So
Yeah, I agree too. Like I feel like for me, and I know you grew up in Andover, Massachusetts, right? And you know, being a Celtics fan, I'm a Celtics fan. I've always sort of had this hatred towards the Lakers, and through that came a love for the Clippers, right? And I've been following them since, you know, ever since they made that Kawhi Paul George sort of situation happen, and it's been a really special thing for me. So I really wanted to ask you, um, when did you begin following basketball? When did you realize, sports in general were something that you really loved? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
for sure, for sure. I mean, like grew up obviously in the Boston area, so I think like whenever the Celtics or Red Sox, just growing up in Boston, like I think everyone just kind of has a passion for sports and kind of just naturally adapts that interest in a way, just subconsciously even. And so yeah, just following the Celtics and I used to play basketball a little bit. I loved it. I
No,
loved
you were a
watching.
hooper, bro. You were a hooper for sure. A1.
What's up?
You were an A1 hooper, boss. I've seen you play.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm trying, man. I'm trying, I'm trying to get that range, but yeah, I mean, I actually started to like basketball through and one. I loved and one basketball, like street ball, like
Yeah.
blacktop. And I remember I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and I asked my dad, I was like, is there any like 2K games? Like, he asked me what you want for Christmas or something. And I don't think he like could find any or whatever. So he went to like a garage sale and he found like the and one blacktop tour or mixtape tour video game. And like that was like my favorite game ever. Like I love that game. And so some of my favorite players growing up was the Professor, like Main Event, like all these guys. And it was just so fun. And then from that, I just naturally liked the Celtics. And I started loving basketball and watching basketball. And especially in middle school, like I was obsessed with it. So it was it was awesome.
That's awesome, dude. So one thing I wanted to ask Wildchat Sports was one thing I really respect about it is how you really kind of integrated like the sports business, the entertainment business, and how you kind of like really immersed that and kind of like grew it from that. So I kind of just want to ask like what was like your thinking behind that, and who's like your favorite person you have interviewed for like a podcast situation?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I liked sports like a lot, and I loved movies. So I remember like, I think in the world of social media, like I think like doors open up a little bit. I think before like there was this sense of like, oh, do you want to work in sports? You want to work in the film industry, like, movies and like people would ask me, oh, like, do you want to be an athlete? Do you want to be an actor? Like, just kind of like that. And I was like, it'd be kind of cool to be both. And I just felt like there were a lot of athletes that that were trying to become artists over the years, or artists were trying to prove themselves as athletes. And I think people are like certainly trying to channel other ways to market themselves. And I think the biggest thing is like, everyone has a fandom. It doesn't matter what social following you have or your financial situation. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what me and Mark Wahlberg have in common, if we have anything in common, is we grew up in Boston. We're Red Sox fans. We're Patriot fans. So it's just funny. Like I feel like that's just fandom in general. I think it's kind of cool. So I just love it. It's been a lot of fun. And as far as like interview, it's tough. I mean, like there's all of them are like really cool stories, just behind how I got them. I think my favorite one, that is tough.
There's so many.
I
The top three if you want. Sure.
I would probably say the Professor. Because one, I loved and1 growing up, and two, at that time, that was when I was still a part of the radio station at the school and at University of New Hampshire. And I remember like people were just like, kind of like, what are you doing? Like kind of thing. Like it was sort of like there was no plan, it was kind of just like a sports page. And I just remember like DMing the Professor, and I literally like Like, bro, I literally like FaceTimed him like in my study. And so I would FaceTime him, and like it was like just so like such a mess. Like I FaceTimed him. I had like a $20 mic, and I just like recorded it through that. And I remember I just DM'd him like, bro, I'm a huge fan. Like, would love to have you on. And he just like texted me his number. He's like, yeah, man. And I don't know. That was just a cool story. And then I had a call, like a friend from the radio station helped out. His name is Andrew Gardner. So it was just cool because we were like, no way. Like it was just that excitement. Like, yo, like we're just, finishing up, probably failing an exam right now. And, then we walk across the hall and we get to do this. So it was awesome. But yeah, there's so many, man. I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is just like for fun for me. That's the whole reason why I started it. I just wanted to learn, I just wanted to get in the industry and connect. And yeah, I was just fortunate. Anyone that says yes to me, I'm like, damn, like, thanks for taking the time. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's great.
Yeah. Two of your interviews I really liked. I kind of just want to say this. So one of them was like with Julia Rose one. I watched that. I was like legit shocked. I was like, he legit interviewed Julia Rose. Like that's like fucking crazy. I was like, oh my god, dude, this guy's a legend. And another one was like when I thought this was funny as fuck, by the way. You were like interviewing, I think, Harry Jowsey or something.
Yeah.
Asking like a Larsa Pippen situation, and you're like, didn't do anything. And he was like, nah, nothing happened. I was like, oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so I actually had a question. So I know that I was listening to one of your first episodes, right? And I think you were talking about how a lot of, I don't know if this is true, like a lot of your influence, or you sort of started your podcast during the pandemic or the start of it, right? And I was wondering sort of, how the pandemic affected the start of your podcast, and what you were sort of thinking during that time.
Yeah. What was like your inspiration regarding that time?
Yeah, definitely. So it's funny, like I started the podcast like about a year before the pandemic. And I did a couple episodes in the summer. Like really the main purpose was to do episodes in the summer and then during the school year I could just do it through the radio. So because I was part of the radio station. So in the summer I would do these podcasts, trying to just like keep engagement up for the school, and just sort of like rebrand itself. And yeah, in the summer, I just like me and my friends, like, we would just like go in my living room, like, again, $20 mic. My mom would come in and she'd be like, oh, you guys want chips? Like, it was just like hilarious, So, yeah, like that was like the first couple episodes. And then, no one really had a podcast like at that point. Like when the pandemic happened, like people just had more time, like a lot more people were starting podcasts, like the industry was a lot more saturated. So, to answer your question, like, Akash, like when the pandemic happened, like I kind of already had that foundation in place. So like I already spent the time like building the page, like building my social, like, or just building the social pages and, all that. So when the time came, I was really just firing and trying to network. So, while people were trying to, build the podcast and learn how to do it, like I already had a small sense of that. So I was just fortunate where I could just, when that time came, I could just fire off emails, and that's literally what I was doing. So, but yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome, man. Kevin, I just have a question for you. So if like an individual came up to you and said that, hey, like I want to start a podcast and like, kind of articulate my thoughts on like a particular subject, whether that be like entertainment, sports, or like some other field, like what advice would you give that person to kind of like grow their brand and like kind of really just start the foundation that what you started right before the pandemic?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's just really like a game of consistency, and it's like, don't get down on yourself if you're not consistent or if you don't feel like doing it or whatever. Like, there's really no pressure in doing these kind of things. Like if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Right. But if you enjoy doing it, like for me, like it didn't feel forced. Like I just enjoy doing this kind of stuff. Like I enjoy the process of doing these kind of things. So if you kind of enjoy the process, you'll naturally become more consistent. You'll grow the brand. Like, and then in that same sense, like, it's just competition, like, who can, do the best, but yeah, I would definitely say consistency, just thinking like this is a long-term game. Like, if you look at it from a 1-year window, it might be like, damn, like we worked this hard and at the end of this year, it still doesn't look that good. Right. And then, maybe in year 2, you're still like, it's a little bit better, but it still doesn't look that good. Like, I think too many people put too much pressure on themselves in that short term. They may say, hey, I want to have 1 million followers or whatever by X time, which is great. But you should, in my opinion, I think if you focus more on the micro and have that vision back of your head, at some point, you'll get there. But really just consistency, long-term game, and, just enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy it and, you say you don't want to work in sports, it's like, then why are you doing it? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest thing, but it's really how much do you want it? And just learning, constantly learning. So
I really loved how you said that, because like in like a long-term process, it's sometimes like hard to like see the short-term gains, and you can like kind of beat yourself down on that, but kind of just like, like being proud of yourself, just being consistent. I think that's like more than 50% there. And that's, I mean, we haven't been doing this for long, but like that's something I've learned, I mean, and I really enjoy doing it too. I think it's really fun, talking to other people, kind of just like discussing sports in general. I wanted to ask you one more question.
yeah,
What
sure.
are the biggest
No
like
rush.
obstacles you have like faced in this process?
Sorry, what was that?
What's like one of the biggest obstacles you have faced in this process?
Biggest obstacles. So I think trying to think. So like it's one of those things where it's like you're gonna like work really, really hard if you really, really want it. So for me, like nothing has really changed between now and in the first year. It just kind of has accumulated, like it's just patience. So, I might be working like, I don't know, 10-hour days. It's like, damn, like I only have like 100 followers on Instagram, and maybe I'm shooting thousands of emails and no one's responding and this and that. And it's like, I think that sometimes can hurt, but then you have to kind of dig down and say, okay, why am I doing this in the first place? Right. And then it was like, okay, I'm doing this because like I want to learn how to be a podcaster. Like I don't think I'm the king of podcasting or any of social media or any of that. It's just sort of, I just want to learn. Like I like the internet. I like, that's a whole purpose. So I think that's the biggest thing. Again, like day by day, sometimes, it really doesn't matter. Like it might be like, it's just a habit now. Like I might have like a really bad day, to be honest with you. And I might have like the best day of my life, but it's kind of like, I'm like emotionally detached from it now. Like I just do the same thing every day. Like low key, like before I get out of bed, like, I manage a couple accounts on the side, just to make some extra money. So before I get out of bed, like, I'll post all the accounts in Wildchat, post accounts for my clients, like, and then, throughout the day, like just kind of keep up, like engage. So it's just one of those things, like just getting emotionally detached from it, the process. Like don't like take things too personally. Like, I think that can be difficult sometimes, but because sometimes you'll work really, really hard, as you guys know, like you're like, oh man, like I'm not seeing the results. But at the end of the day, again, just being patient and just kind of rolling with it. So hopefully that answers the question. But
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I think for us, like, I think it's really like cool that you said that, because we always think the same thing. Like, one thing that Arsh and I, we both agree on, and the way we sort of started this podcast is we were watching Game 3 of the Celtics versus Warriors in the finals, right? And I've always wanted to start a podcast. I think for years I've wanted to, and I've always wanted to have a co-host. I think it'd just be cool to sort of yeah. Like the funniest thing is like I text him so often. We're literally in a group chat all the time, like, and I never knew that he was as passionate about it as I was, right? So like we were just sitting there. I was like, damn, I just really want to do a podcast. Like I don't know if you listen to like The Old Man and the Three. Do you listen to that?
Yeah, of course.
I love The Old Man. I just watched I was just listening to the Kendrick episode actually a few days ago, but I always listen to that like on the way home from work. I work in Boston, so I have a lot of time in the car. But I was listening to that. I was like, yeah, I just really want to start one, and we were just super passionate about it, right? And every time I get a chance, I'm always like, there's like, if we made $1 from this a year, like I don't care, I'd be the happiest fucking person alive.
Yeah.
Because it's something that like you made, right?
Yeah.
And like, what do you think about it? The value of sort of creating something. What's your, your sort of.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. I mean, for me, like, to your point, like, gosh, like I like creating stuff, and I don't know. I don't think I'm, this creative genius by any means, but I think it's just fun, and I guess to kind of like articulate it better, like I feel better about myself when I execute on things. Like, when I say, oh man, I want to start this, I want to do this, it's like, why don't you, why don't you just do this? So it's like just kind of being more hands-on with it. Like I think even going back to the previous question as well, like consistency and execution, like when I execute on things, whether it's good or bad, I just feel a lot better about myself, I think that's like the biggest thing is like really execution. Like I think everyone wants to start a podcast, but I think everyone wants to, but only a few people do it, right? Or only a few people, reach out to certain people, like certain, like people want to do things, but they don't want to go through the process of like actually executing on it, So I think for me, like that's what I've learned, like mentally, like I was like, if I wanted something and I wasn't actually doing it and holding myself accountable to it, I felt awful, but when I thought about something and I started executing on those ideas, I felt a lot better about it, if that makes sense. So.
Kevin, I actually want to ask something. So this is like not really related to what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm enjoying this conversation a lot, dude. I appreciate you taking your time just being on here. So there's this figure like in the internet world, and he's kind of conquered TikTok. He's been on so many like different like major podcasts, like now.
Andrew Tate.
And there we go.
I knew it right away.
What's your opinion on Andrew Tate?
What's my opinion on Andrew Tate? I mean, he's definitely like got one of the strongest cult followings. Like, you can't, I mean, it is pretty insane. Like I like just within the past month, it's just like, oh my God, like this man is like, I don't even think he has a TikTok or anything.
All the other accounts
everyone else.
Yeah,
it's crazy. His cult following is insane. I don't really, I think from a guy's perspective, like I don't want to speak about what he says about what women think. But
I rephrase my question. I didn't really mean to talk about like what his claims are, like what his opinions,
right.
Like, different like social subjects are. I just meant how he kind of like accumulated all that like marketability and like
okay, yeah.
I don't want to talk about like what he says because that's a very touchy subject. Yeah.
I think he's just like, I mean, I'm just curious how he's done it, I mean, he's definitely very confident, and I think authenticity on social platforms, like people know when you're just being authentic, people kind of know when you're BSing. And I think because he's so authentic and, you know, so honest in what he believes in, it's just like, it's just really high engagement. You know, because he's just saying things that, yeah, I mean, he's just saying whatever he thinks. So, yeah, there's only certain people that I guess could do that and sound educated when they do it. But he's, he seems to be, he seems to be having success. So
I kind of respond to that, but before that, I want to ask you, Kev, what color is your Bugatti?
what color is my Bugatti?
No, it's not Bugatti.
Working on it, man.
No, Kevin, you guys, it's Bugatti.
Bugatti. Yeah.
Bugatti.
Yeah.
Bugatti is sparkling water.
Yeah, no, I completely, I
Yeah,
definitely agree with what you're saying. I think he's very authentic in what he says, and he truly believes it. And kind of just like the brand he's created, like with his like brother, I think his younger brother Tristan, it's very crazy. And how he's like imposing his influence from Romania on the Western world, kind of just like shitting on it like nonstop. It's like funny, but like also like I can see why people are attracted to that. Like, because that's like I feel like he's creating something that like people want to be. Like they want to be rich. They want, you know, like they want to have a lot of women around them. They want to have like the fancy cars, the big house. They want to like travel a lot. So I can definitely see that. But some of the things he says, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little iffy on that.
I'll give you that. Okay, so we're gonna be wrapping up real soon, but before we get there, you know, we are a basketball podcast, and you know, we want to talk about some basketball things. And the question that I have for you, right, is you've been a basketball fan for some time, and if you can name or consider, right, based on your experience with the NBA, something that you saw at a game, something you watched on TV, maybe a highlight reel, what's your favorite NBA basketball moment? And you can give me one, you can give me a top three, whatever you feel is comfortable.
Oh man, that is tough.
Yeah. That's why I said top three too. You can give me a top three as well.
If you want to go down to the NCAA too, that's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Like I made a highlight reel recently with Kemba.
Yeah.
And like the first thing that I did was, you know, that step back.
Of course.
Red Wanamaker against Pitt. So yeah, absolutely. If you have something,
he was a beast.
Absolutely, man, crazy. Take a look at the highlight reel too. Take a look at the highlight reel. You're gonna like.
I will. My mom went to UConn, so you know, obviously in Mass, like college sports teams aren't like the biggest thing as you know other places. But now I just naturally loved UConn basketball. So when I saw Kemba in that run, that was insane. But yeah, as far as
too.
Wait, what was that?
It has the best prison food too, UConn. Crazy.
Oh yeah. He's
awesome. Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so from my favorite sports moment at a basketball game.
Yes, sir.
Or something you watched, anything NBA, NCAA, anything.
Okay. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is like, I wasn't at that game, but oh my God, man. Like that.
You're talking against the Wizards?
Was it against the Wizards? Was that game 6?
Yeah, when his sister died. And
was that game 6?
I think it was game. Yeah. Actually, it might have not been game 6.
It was game 5 or 7.
Yeah, I think
game 6 was in Washington.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Game 6, John Wall had a game winner.
Yeah, because I remember he just like, IT, like seeing that, and then like him just going off like the night his sister died. Like that was
for sure.
That was crazy. Like, I don't know. There was something special about that team, man. Like they were just crazy. Like it was just, it was so obvious. Like the Celtics overperformed in the regular season during those years, and you know, because of that, a lot of people were counting them out. And, you know, this guy just IT, like, I mean, how tall is he? I mean,
5'9", 5'9", 5'8", something.
5, yeah.
I mean, he was in the, if I remember, like, he was in the, you know, people were at one point were considered like in discussions for like MVP.
Yeah, top 5.
He was
averaging like 29 points a game or something.
I was like
14 in the fourth quarter, king of the fourth.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. That was one of my favorites.
Dude, I remember when the Celtics were considering trade. I mean, when they traded like Isaiah to like for Kyrie Irving, kind of that trade. Like everyone else watching, like, oh, we got the upgrade. Kyrie's a better defender. He's a better shooter. He's like taller, stuff like that. But I was like, dude, the impact that Isaiah Thomas had on Boston, Kyrie will never have that impact. That's
Okay,
exactly what
that's fair. But one thing I will say about Kyrie Irving, sorry, not Kyrie Irving, Isaiah Thomas was. I feel like he was exactly what like Boston really needed. This 5'9" guard,
Heart of the city, bro.
60th overall pick. Got traded. For some reason to Boston. Had 2 All-Star appearances, averaged 30 points per game, carried a team after his sister died. Like it was something that was magical, right? It was magic in Beantown in almost every possible way. Like the things that he was doing in TD Garden were just special, right? And every year that we've gotten better, right? We now have Jason Tatum as the franchise leader, right? Like the leader, the face of the franchise. We have Jaylen Brown, we have Marcus Smart as point guard, all these guys, right? You go back and I'm like, that really started with Isaiah Thomas upstarting that franchise, right? From that big 3 in the past. Now you had this guy who brought life into this franchise. And now, we recently had that finals appearance, right? Yeah, sure, Isaiah Thomas wasn't on that team. But go back to those years where he was there and they were doing really special things and say, yeah, he really was important in making what we have now possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he was a beast, man. Like, I don't know, there was just something about that team that was so fun to watch, like him and Jay Crowder and I don't know. That team was so fun to watch.
You're aggressive.
I saw a question on Overtime. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts, but it was like, name the most like random like NBA player that you could think of like ever. Like it could be like
Longacre.
Fat lever. I forget how to say his name. I mean, you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah.
You guys remember Bon Wafer?
Ron Baker?
No, I said fat like lever. I don't know what's his last name. I think it's Lever. I just thought it was like that's like not a name, but it was like that's like an NBA player apparently for the past.
Yeah.
No,
there's
from the past.
Yeah, I mean anytime or like current like random or like just anytime.
Just like any random, like just one guy that you're like, oh my god, like I told like blast from the past, like totally random, like because
West.
Oh, who's it? Cabalacco or something like that. He was on the Raptors. He's like from Brazil. I don't know.
Bruno Fernando?
Yeah.
Oh, he's from Angola. My bad.
No. He was on the Raptors for a bit. I don't know.
Corey Joseph.
He's
Corey Joseph.
Not that random.
He's kind of random.
He's not that random. Wait.
You guys remember?
Who's your pick?
I remember like Marquise Daniels and like.
Oh yeah.
Remember Nenad Krstić, like the center that the Celtics got in return for the Nate Robinson trade.
I feel like Chris Humphries would have been one too, but he married fucking Kim Kardashian. So like that changed everything.
Oh yeah, Chris Humphries. Yeah, Jesus, that was insane. That like he was on the Celtics for like a brief,
like him, like Gerald Wallace, like that kind of.
Oh, that's true. Wait, did Gerald Wallace get there in the Nets trade?
Yeah, the Nets trade.
Or was it Gerald Green?
No, that was Gerald Wallace. He kind of played that Udonis Haslem role for the Celtics. He was like consulting a lot, kind of like young guns like had to like kind of like chemistry build up and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was way better on like Portland, like Charlotte. Like I remember he was like
he was good.
On the Celtics, I was like, yeah.
I feel like a lot of times what happens is I don't know what it is, but you'll get these players who are like system players who will come to the Celtics and they were really good in another team. They'll come to the Celtics and then you're like, I don't remember him being like that. Like you're just like, oh, I don't remember being that way.
Kev, I want to ask you a real question. So, when we talk about super teams like in the NBA, so a lot of people put like blame on like LeBron for like going to Miami with Chris Bosh and D Wade, kind of like starting that whole like cult. But like right before the big three, I remember like Paul Pierce was on the Celtics. And I think they won like 24 games or so, 24 to 28 games or something. And then like KG comes where Allen comes, and they end up winning a chip, beating the Lakers in 6. Do you think that was the original super team, or do you think that was just like something else?
What with the Celtics big three?
Yeah, Celtics big three.
Yeah, I definitely think it had an impact on like, just how teams were built at that point. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know why like the Bulls, like I don't know why people don't think the Bulls like were considered a super team. I don't know. Maybe
Because like MJ and like Scotty were drafted. I don't know, I guess. But then
gotcha.
the Warriors like also kind of like built their team from scratch too, except for the KD like addition, which is kind of crazy.
The
Gotcha.
Warriors in 2015, 2016 were not a super team though. They were a super team
I mean,
after that.
winning 73 games is kind of
They were,
crazy.
but that's a good team. Like I would say, super team is like Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. That's a super team.
Yeah.
LeBron James, D Wade,
But-
Chris Bosh, super team.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that's a question. So is like a super team just like your definition of it, just like recruiting the players,
Like
right?
free
Like, we're
agents
not talking about-
drafting, yeah.
Okay, like yeah, probably for sure. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think definitely feel like that had an impact. I mean, that Celtics big three team was
That was awesome.
man, it stinks, man, because I didn't follow the NBA that early on. Like
Yeah.
it was like right after that, like 2008 finals and
Yeah.
even in 2010 was like when I like right after that period was when I like kind of got into it more. So I kind of wish, like me and my friend always talk about, like, man, like I wish we just appreciated that finals more, because being from Boston, like we're spoiled to see Patriots, Red Sox,
2019
Bruins.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, to answer your question, like, yeah, I think, I mean, that Miami team at the time was built to beat Boston,
Exactly.
I mean,
Because LeBron kept losing to Boston like in the playoffs.
yeah, I mean, and so Chris Bosh, and so, yeah, I think that team was built to beat a team like Boston. And then it was like the domino effects. Like then you had, after the Heat, what Warriors kind of took over after that period, right? Or
It was like Spurs for a little bit.
The
and,
Spurs,
like,
I don't know, like, they kind of had their time.
they could have won in 2013 too. So it was like, I don't know. So that's crazy to think about. Ray Allen kind of just saved that game 6, and the Warriors just took over. Where do you see like? Because I know Milwaukee's big. They lost obviously this year to Boston. The Warriors are kind of they're aging, but they're still like really good. Where do you see like this future going? Like, is it like Luka Doncic? Is it like Giannis? Does Steph Curry have a couple good years? Does LeBron have any gas like left in the tank? Like
Jason Tatum.
Obviously Jason Tatum.
the future. I mean, man, a young guy that I think could take over. I mean, if you look at Tatum's situation, and I know I'm biased, but if you look at his situation, like he's got the foundation there for him. So I think that certainly helps. Like, he's got the pieces to support him. Like, I think like Luka's a beast, Ja's a beast. Zion, when he's healthy, like
Yeah, I would say that goes for sure.
like those guys are great. They're definitely, I mean, hands down, they're the future. I just think they don't have, the cast that Boston built around Tatum is like
It's crazy, yeah.
I mean, they got everything. They're one of the deeper teams.
Tatum was in a unique situation too, because Tatum basically was drafted into a winning type situation. He's never missed the playoffs before. In 2018, they had Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, and Al Horford.
Yeah.
And he was going on to that team.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even an all-star. The team had 2 all-stars, right? And Gordon Hayward broke his leg. So, yeah. And so he was going into that situation. And basically every all-star that's left, in my opinion, has been somewhat like training wheels, right? Like you had Gordon Hayward, first Kyrie left, right? They persisted, right? They had Kemba, but then Kemba was hurt a little bit and whatever. Like they persisted. Gordon Hayward left. Jason Tatum averaged 26 points per game. Then Kemba was traded, right? Now Jason Tatum was the face of the franchise, right? Arguably before that, but very much solidified at this point.
Yeah.
And what they go to the finals with him there, but he had like so many mentors along the way. That's priceless. Right?
Yeah.
Doncic had Dirk. for a little bit.
For like a year.
Yeah.
For like a year.
It's not the same thing, right? Like that's, and so he had that mentorship up until that point. He's still very close with Kyrie Irving, who, you know, we can talk all the shit we want. He was a champion, right? And you know, he has all these vets around him.
You also have Gucci Mane too, big inspiration.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
big Nelly guy. So but yeah, you know, I agree with that. You know, once again, I am a little bit biased, just like you.
I just think it's like I don't think necessarily like it's like crazy to say, but I don't even know if like Tatum is definitely the most talented out of that group. Like,
Yeah.
but he's just got the foundation, you know. I mean,
set up for success, you know what I mean?
You know, he's just set up for success. Now if you know, who knows, like with Ja and Luka and you know, Zion, you know, they're all kind of going through different situations. But I mean, you know, you give them a similar cast that Boston set up, like, I don't know, like it's anyone's game at that point. But if you're asking like any of out of those young stars, like who's the closest as far as like leading their team to a championship, like I think right now, like Tatum's the guy. He's developed his team. You know, he's developed his role. He's just gone bigger. So it's interesting to see. But I mean, I'm excited, like just in general. Like, you know, the league seems great. So
I agree.
sure.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching episode 10 of The Can. This is a really special episode with a really special guest, Kevin Larney. And you know, we hope that we can have really cool conversations later with other guests, and we'll have more people lined up in the future. Just please make sure to follow our Instagram, _can basketball. Please also follow our YouTube channel. I've picked up my new hobby of also doing some highlight videos, so please check out our Kemba Walker highlight. We'll have a Giannis highlight dropping soon, Jaylen Brown, as well as some of our memes that Arch has been working on. And then just follow our Spotify. Thank you all for following what we do. We're very appreciative. We always have so much stuff that we're planning. And we really hope that some of you guys will get a chance to hear that. All right, guys. Peace out.